When Andrew Holness and Mark Golding addressed Parliament after Hurricane Melissa, they exposed two completely different approaches to Jamaica's future. Pay close attention to these debates. One sees a chance to rebuild stronger. The other sees a warning sign we can't ignore. Here's how their visions collided.
This third phase will focus on resilient considerations. Our reconstruction is not merely about restoring what was lost. It is about building a stronger, more competitive Jamaica capable of withstanding future climate shocks.
It is a sad situation that we, living in a small island developing state like Jamaica, are the recipients of the increasingly vicious effects of the climate crisis. A crisis which we did very little, if anything, to cause. These debts that we are now going to be incurring to finance our attempts at recovery are like lending money to a business that suffered losses through some kind of crisis that is trying to dig itself out of a hole from. Taking on additional debt to do that is going to be a challenging road for any country.
So right away, you can see the split. Holness is talking long-term development, while Golding is grounding everything in the reality of who pays and why we're even in this position. Two angles, same crisis.
Madam Speaker, I know from this that the question will be asked, why are we celebrating more debt? We are not celebrating more debt. What we are celebrating is the opportunity to make a massive investment in our infrastructure, in our people, in the services that improve productivity. So you can see the opportunity to expand the economy.
I don't think it's appropriate to treat these announcements in a triumphant way. We are going to be incurring the costs of paying back this massive additional borrowing in years to come. If you look at 3.6 billion US of sovereign debt, that's over 25% of GDP of additional borrowing.
Here's the clash. Holness sees borrowing as fuel for growth. Golding sees borrowing as a warning sign, one side calling it investment, the other calling it a risk Jamaica can't ignore.
We have never before had an opportunity to spend $6.7 billion relative to our GDP. And I'm encouraging all Jamaicans, regardless of political persuasion, to embrace this opportunity.
So while I admire and indeed share optimism about the future, I think we should approach an announcement like this with some sobriety. This event has caused us to retrace our steps substantially from the economic path we were on. You know, the nation incurred substantial sacrifices to get to where we were.
This is where the tone really separates them. Holness is framing this as a once-in-a-generation chance to build big. Golding is saying, yes, build, but don't pretend the country didn't just get knocked backwards.
This third phase will focus on resilient considerations. This is the heart of our long-term strategy. Every major investment will reflect stronger engineering, climate-ready design, and future-proofing. Climate-smart roads and bridges, coastal and river defense systems, including natural defenses, strengthened public utilities and grid resilience, digital and transport infrastructure to support productivity.
It's really a shame that the international financial community, it is approaching the mitigation of the effects of climate-induced disasters on countries like ours by financing packages that are largely based on additional debt. Only 12 million US out of over 6 billion of programmed US funding is grant funding. That is That is the world that we as Jamaicans, both you on that side and us on this side, have to navigate.
Holness is outlining all the upgrades: roads, bridges, utilities, digital systems, the whole future-proof package. But Golding is pointing out the catch. Almost all of this is debt. Only a tiny slice is actual grant money.
We are not celebrating more debt. What we are celebrating is the opportunity to expand the economy.
This is not something to celebrate. This is not something to gloat about. This represents a substantial setback for Jamaica, and it represents if it's not administered properly, it could permanently weaken our future prospects and damage the country's future.
And that's the core disagreement. Holness wants Jamaica to embrace the moment. Golding wants Jamaica to slow down and recognize the cost. Same data, different story. When you line up both statements side by side, the divide is clear. Holness is pushing a recovery built on scale, speed, and investment, no matter the cost. Golding is warning that the same approach could reset Jamaica's progress and pile debt onto a country still catching its breath. They're responding to the same crisis, but their solutions couldn't be more different. If Melissa revealed anything, it's that our leaders aren't arguing about the storm. They're arguing about the future we're building after it.